And Carl Jung made this statement at the beginning of the Wilhelm Baines edition of the I Ching. He said, every moment of time has its own unique quality. And anything born on that moment takes on the quality of it. Okay? So when you talk about a birth moment and what the horoscope is, it's a quality. It shows you a quality of that moment. And in that quality is a potential expression of this being that's born. His strengths, his weaknesses. The areas of life he could do well in vocationally. You might even get a glimpse of what medical conditions this person might be challenged with. You might get an idea of what kinds of relationships enhance or inhibit his or her growth. So a horoscope is a quality of a moment that's represented in that chart. And with that are an infinite number of possibilities in personality expression, vocational, medical, relationship issues, and timing of when that chart is being activated by the transits and progressions that take place.
Yeah, if you look at astrology from the framework that in a sense, the primary imperative, the prime directive, so to speak, of life is to evolve and change and realize your fullest potential as an individual human being. This is an idea that really was popularized by Jung and then got picked up by humanistic psychology in the 60s and 70s and so on. And it was, also adapted by Dane Rudhyar, who was probably the first real psychological astrologer. If you look at astrology through that lens, then you see your role as an astrologer to facilitate the fullest development of the individual, the client, as you can. So you're in a process of guiding and encouraging and pointing out possibilities and helping the client to gain some insight into, let's say, certain self-limiting ideas, pathogenic beliefs, etc., that impair their development, that hold them back, that keep them stuck in the reenactment of self-destructive and ways of being. And so the astrologer has a remarkable tool in the astrological chart that can enable the astrologer, the therapist, the counselor to accelerate their insight into the psychological dynamics that need to be shifted, that are holding the client back from making the next leap, the next step into a more integrated state of being. You also can look at the chart and get a sense of what are the possibilities here for the client. To what degree has the client realized those possibilities? What can I say or do as an astrologer with the client to further a process of change, healing, integration that enables that client to make a quantum leap, or even just a small change that maybe plant a seed that will take root later and move them in the direction that the chart seems to be indicating is possible for them to achieve. If the client sees you've got Saturn squaring your Sun, you might become depressed, and it's probably a bad time to try to expand your business, and you might think about laying low and waiting for the transit to pass, and don't do anything out of the ordinary because it's probably not going to work out. And you give these kinds of advice to clients to help them forego, or not forego, but to avoid some of the more difficult aspects of the transit. I don't really think you're helping the client. You may be giving them advice and talking about specific events that might occur, but you're missing the point, I think, from a developmentalist perspective of what the real value and the real purpose of those kinds of transits are.
There is a time to do things. There are seasons of growth and seasons of turning around. There's summer and winter. You wouldn't think of planting your carrot in the garden in January. You're going to plant it when the season is right to plant it, when the conditions within the universal environment, within the earthly environment, because we're all part of the whole, the same process, aren't we? As above, so below. There is, we know that the tides are affected by the movement of the moon. So therefore, it isn't too much of a stretch of the imagination to realize that all life rotates around universal principle.
Which is basically we have a connection with the universe, and we understand that connection with the infinite, the universe. I will tell you this, that nothing has brought me closer to God than the study of astrology.
It's the life within the universe having a synchronicity with itself, as above, so below. I believe that we can look at life in a very confined environmental way, or in a very enlarged environmental way. So an astrologer has an environmental scope that covers the universe, or perhaps might even go so far as to cover all time and all space. So it's just being able to recognize that we are part of the universe and we are all tied together in a rhythmic process.
I'll tell you this, that nothing has brought me closer to God than the study of astrology. Not religion, not Christianity. Astrology has brought me close to God.
The study of astrology is vast, as one can spend a lifetime understanding its workings. Sun sign astrology is a surface-level representation of astrology. However, it acts as a good introduction to the ancient arts. Astrology is an ancient art with a diverse history, yet it has had a flourishing evolution with the humanistic movement. Embedded with the symbols of astrology lies a rich and deep spirituality, archetypes of the universal forces of change and the unconscious. The study of astrology is a tool for greater understanding and self-realization, to aid in the process of individuation and the evolution of the self.